Story number 1. Whispers from the Dark Forest. I never thought a simple camping trip would unravel the fabric of my reality. Growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee, the Great Smoky Mountains had always been a place of serene beauty and childhood adventures. But that winter, amidst the biting cold and relentless snowfall, the mountains revealed a darkness that lurked beneath their picturesque facade. It was December, and the holiday season had wrapped our lives in a whirlwind of obligations and stress. My wife, Laura, and I decided to escape the chaos with a group of close friends, Jake, Emily, and Marcus. The plan was to spend a weekend camping near the edge of the Great Smoky Mountains, enjoying the tranquility of nature and the warmth of our camaraderie. We arrived at the designated campsite late in the afternoon, the sun already dipping below the horizon. The forest was cloaked in a thick blanket of snow, each tree branch weighed down by the accumulation. The air was crisp, each breath visible in the frigid temperature. We unloaded our gear, setting up tents and gathering firewood, the anticipation of the weekend ahead evident in our smiles and laughter. As night fell, we huddled around the campfire, sharing stories and reminiscing about old times. The flames crackled, casting dancing shadows on our faces. The stars were obscured by heavy clouds, and a full moon struggled to pierce through the stormy sky. The wind howled through the trees, carrying with it an unsettling stillness that seemed to mute the usual sounds of nocturnal wildlife. Around midnight, as the fire began to wane, a faint sound broke the silence, a soft, melodic call, like that of a child lost and alone. At first, we dismissed it as the wind playing tricks on our ears, but the sound persisted, growing slightly louder and more distinct. It was a desperate, pleading cry that sent chills down my spine. "Did you guys hear that?" Lily, Emily's younger sister, asked, her voice trembling. "Probably just the wind," Jake replied, though his unease was palpable. But the sound didn't fade. Instead, it seemed to beckon us, drawing us towards the dense forest beyond our campsite. The snow swirled around us, making visibility nearly impossible. The calls grew louder, more insistent, pulling us towards an unknown destination. Against our better judgment, curiosity got the better of us. We decided to follow the sound, believing it to be the innocent cry of a lost child needing help. Equipped with flashlights and bundled up against the cold, we ventured deeper into the woods, the path barely visible beneath the thick layer of snow. After what felt like an eternity, the calls led us to a small clearing. There, amidst the towering pines, stood a wooden house unlike anything I had ever seen. It was quaint, with a steeply pitched roof and windows that reflected the dim light of our flashlights. The house appeared abandoned, its exterior weathered by time and the harsh elements, but there was something unnerving about its stillness. "Look," Marcus pointed towards the house. "It's like no one's lived here for years." As we approached, the call ceased abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. The door, though old and battered, creaked open on its own, revealing a dimly lit interior. The windows, though covered in frost, allowed enough light to penetrate, casting ghostly shadows across the room. We exchanged nervous glances before deciding to investigate further. Inside, the house was a time capsule from a bygone era. Dust-covered furniture, a grand fireplace, and ornate decorations adorned each room, untouched by time. Yet, despite the apparent abandonment, the house felt unsettlingly alive. The air was thick with a sense of sorrow and lingering presence, as if the spirits of the past were watching our every move. "We should go back," Emily whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "This place gives me the creeps." But it was too late. As we turned to leave, the door slammed shut, plunging us into darkness. The flashlights flickered, casting erratic beams of light that danced across the walls. The temperature dropped sharply, our breaths visible in the frigid air. Panic set in as we realized we were trapped inside the haunted house. The whispers returned, louder and more desperate this time. They echoed through the rooms, filling the air with an otherworldly presence. Shadows moved in the corners of our vision, and the sense of being watched intensified. The air grew heavy, making it difficult to breathe as unseen forces pressed against us, their malevolent intent palpable. "We need to find a way out," Laura urged, her eyes wide with fear. We split into pairs, searching the house for an exit. Jake and Marcus headed towards the back of the house, while Emily and I took the front. The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, the layout changing as if the house itself was shifting to prevent our escape. Every door we opened led to another room, each one more decrepit and eerie than the last. In the heart of the house, we discovered a grand staircase leading to the attic. The whispers grew louder as we ascended, guiding us towards a hidden truth. The attic was cluttered with old toys, dusty books, and faded photographs. Among the debris, we found a journal belonging to a young girl named Clara, who had lived in the house decades ago. Clara's entries detailed her life in the house, the joy of winter, and the fears that consumed her when a mysterious figure began to haunt her. The last entry was a frantic plea for help, describing how the figure trapped her in the attic, never to be seen again. Her words resonated with the whispers that surrounded us, confirming that we were dealing with restless spirits seeking closure. As we pieced together Clara's story, the apparitions intensified. Figures of children appeared, their eyes hollow and expressions twisted with sorrow and anger. They moved with purpose, their cries blending into a chorus of despair that filled the house. We realized that the house was a trap, a nexus for lost souls seeking to ensnare new victims. Determined to free ourselves and the spirits trapped within, we delved deeper into the journal, searching for a way to break the curse. Clara had mentioned a ritual that could release the spirits, but it required immense courage and unity. The journal provided instructions on how to perform the ritual, which involved acknowledging the spirit's pain and offering a gesture of peace. Gathering in the grand living room, we prepared for the ritual. Laura and I lit candles around the room, while Jake and Marcus arranged the toys and books mentioned in Clara's journal. Emily held the journal close, her hands trembling as she read the final instructions aloud. "We must show them that we understand their suffering and that we come in peace," Emily recited, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped us all. "Only then can the cycle of torment be broken." As we began the chant, the atmosphere in the house shifted. The whispers turned into pleading cries, and the apparitions of children gathered around us, their eyes filled with a longing that pierced our souls. The temperature rose slightly, a sign that the spirits were responding to our efforts. "We are sorry for disturbing your peace," I declared, my voice echoing through the room. "We wish to help you find rest." The apparitions hesitated, their forms flickering as if battling an internal conflict. Slowly, they began to dissipate, their cries softening into sighs of relief. The house itself seemed to breathe a collective sigh, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as the spirits found the closure they desperately needed. But just as we thought the ordeal was over, a final, terrifying realization dawned upon us. Clara's spirit remained, her form standing at the top of the staircase, a look of anguish etched on her face. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. "Now, let me help you find your way out." With Clara's guidance, the house began to transform once more. The walls straightened, the doors aligned with their original positions, and the layout returned to normal. The storm outside subsided, and the snow fell gently, no longer a force of nature but a peaceful blanket that covered the land. Clara led us to the front door, her presence a comforting beacon in the darkness. "Remember us," she said softly. "Honor our memories, and protect this place." As we stepped out of the house, the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the snow-covered forest. The house stood silent and still, its dark secrets finally laid to rest. Exhausted but relieved, we made our way back to our campsite, the horrors of that night forever etched into our minds. In the days that followed, we tried to return to our normal lives, but the experience left an indelible mark on us all. Sleep eluded me, the whispers and apparitions haunting my dreams, reminding me of the spirits we had helped. Laura, Emily, Jake, and Marcus shared similar struggles, each of us dealing with the trauma in our own way. We kept the journal as a memento, a reminder of the night we faced our fears and confronted the darkness within the Great Smoky Mountains. The story of our ordeal became a cautionary tale among our friends and family, a stark warning of the dangers that lie hidden in the heart of the forest. But the forest remained, its beauty unmarred by our encounter. Each winter, as the first snowflakes began to fall, I found myself drawn back to the memories of that night. The Great Smoky Mountains, with their serene beauty and hidden horrors, became a symbol of the thin line between peace and terror, a place where the past and present intertwined in an eternal dance of light and shadow. Years have passed since that fateful Christmas, but the lessons remain vivid. curiosity can lead to unimaginable horrors, and the bonds of friendship and family are tested in the most dire of circumstances. The Great Smoky Mountains hold secrets that are best left undisturbed, their whispers a reminder that some places are better left unexplored. Our experience taught us the importance of respect for nature, for history, and for the souls that linger in the spaces between life and death. The House of Dolls remains a haunting reminder of the power of the human spirit to confront and overcome darkness, and the enduring legacy of those who came before us. As I sit by my fireplace on cold winter nights, the flickering flames casting shadows on the walls, I can't help but feel a connection to the spirits of the Great Smoky Mountains. They are a part of us now, their whispers echoing in our hearts, reminding us of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, and the unbreakable bonds that hold us together in the face of unspeakable fear. The whispers from the dark forest became more than just a story. It was a testament to our resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and courage can guide us back to the light. Story number 2. The Unexpected Snowstorm. I never imagined a simple camping trip could turn our lives into a living nightmare. My name is David Mitchell, and this is the story of how my wife, Laura, and our 2 children, Ethan and Lily, became entangled in a supernatural ordeal high in the unforgiving peaks of Mount Rainier, Washington. It was early December, and the Great Smoky Mountains were cloaked in a serene blanket of snow. The crisp winter air was invigorating, and the promise of a weekend away from the chaos of our daily lives was exactly what we needed. Laura and I had planned this trip for months, meticulously preparing our gear and researching the best camping spots. Our excitement was palpable as we loaded the SUV with tents, sleeping bags, and enough supplies to last us a week. Ethan, our 14-year-old son, and Lily, our 8-year-old daughter, were equally thrilled, eagerly anticipating the adventures that awaited them in the wilderness. The drive to Mount Rainier was picturesque, with snow-covered pines lining the winding roads and the majestic peak looming in the distance. The forest was peaceful, the only sounds being the crunch of our tires on the gravel and the occasional call of a distant bird. As we approached our chosen campsite, nestled in a secluded valley surrounded by towering trees, a sense of tranquility settled over us. We set up our tents, built a fire, and enjoyed a hearty meal under the vast expanse of the starlit sky. The warmth of the fire and the laughter of my family created an idyllic scene, one that made the impending storm feel like a distant concern. That night, as we sat around the fire, Laura suggested we share stories to pass the time. Ethan and Lily eagerly chimed in with tales of mythical creatures and heroic adventures, their imaginations running wild in the flickering light of the flames. I felt a deep sense of contentment, grateful for these moments of togetherness. Little did we know, our peaceful evening was about to be shattered by forces beyond our understanding. Around midnight, the weather took a drastic turn. What had started as a gentle snowfall quickly escalated into a fierce blizzard. The wind howled through the trees, whipping the snow into blinding white drifts that obscured our view. The temperature plummeted, and the warmth of the fire became insufficient against the biting cold. We hurried to secure our campsite, but the storm was relentless, trapping us in our tents with no hope of escape. As the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. The snowstorm outside was unlike any we had ever experienced, its intensity defying the forecasts we had trusted so blindly. We heard faint whispers carried by the wind, sounds that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the forest. Laura tried to reassure the kids, attributing the noises to the storm, but her voice trembled with uncertainty. The temperature inside the tent dropped further, and our breaths became visible in the frigid air, mingling with the whispers that grew louder and more insistent. Ethan, ever the curious one, peeked out of the tent to get a better look at the storm. What he saw sent a chill down my spine, strange footprints emerging from the snow, leading away from our campsite and disappearing into the dense forest. The footprints were larger than any animal tracks we were familiar with elongated toes and an unsettling symmetry that made them almost human in appearance. As the night progressed, more footprints appeared, circling our tent and then vanishing into the darkness. "Dad, look!" Ethan whispered urgently, pointing to a fresh set of tracks that seemed to beckon us deeper into the forest. Laura's eyes widened with fear. "We should stay inside. It's not safe." But the allure of the unknown was too strong. By dawn, the storm had subsided to a heavy snowfall, but we were far from the safety of our original campsite. The footprints were everywhere, each set appearing and disappearing as if guiding us towards something or someone. The morning light revealed the full extent of the chaos. Our campsite had been ransacked, with our gear scattered and belongings displaced. It was as if an invisible force had been searching for something or someone and had taken it from us without mercy. Determined to find answers, we decided to follow the footprints, hoping they would lead us back to civilization. The forest was eerily silent, the only sound being the crunch of our boots on the snow-covered ground and the distant calls of unseen creatures. As we ventured deeper, the landscape seemed to change, the trees growing denser and the air colder, filled with a palpable sense of dread. Hours passed with no sign of the paths we knew, each turn leading us further into unfamiliar territory. The whispers returned, now more distinct, forming words that sent shivers down our spines. "Join us," they seemed to chant, "be one of us." The voices were a haunting melody that tugged at our sanity, urging us to succumb to the darkness that surrounded us. As night fell once more, we stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow. In the center stood a small, dilapidated cabin made entirely of dolls. Each doll was meticulously crafted, their porcelain faces frozen in expressions of sorrow and fear. The sight was both mesmerizing and horrifying, the dolls appearing to watch us with lifeless eyes that seemed to follow our every move. That's impossible," Laura stammered, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. Ethan pointed to the cabin, his eyes wide with fear. "Dad, what is that?" Before I could respond, the cabin began to move, its wooden structure shuddering as the dolls within seemed to come alive. The door creaked open, and a cold, dark presence emanated from within. Shadows danced across the walls, and the air grew thick with malevolence. It was as if the cabin itself was a gateway to a realm of nightmares, a trap set by forces we couldn't comprehend. "We have to leave," I urged, pulling Laura and the kids towards the safety of our vehicle. But the cabin had other plans. The footprints reappeared, leading us back towards the cursed structure, and the whispers grew louder, more urgent. The storm had returned, bringing with it a sense of impending doom that weighed heavily on our hearts. As we approached the cabin, the shadows within seemed to reach out towards us, their cold fingers grazing our skin and sending waves of fear through our bodies. The door slammed shut in front of us, trapping us outside in the swirling snowstorm once again. Panic set in as we realized that we were caught in an endless loop, each attempt to escape only drawing us deeper into the forest's dark embrace. Desperation fueled our actions as we searched for a way to break the curse that held us captive. The whispers morphed into anguished cries, echoing the pain of those who had been lost before us. The forest seemed to come alive, the trees twisting into grotesque shapes and the snow forming eerie patterns that guided us towards the heart of the curse. In the darkest hour of the night, we came face to face with the source of the horror, a shadowy figure standing amidst the snow, its form shifting and contorting with each passing moment. The air around it crackled with dark energy, and its eyes burned with a malicious intent that pierced through our very souls. "Why do you trespass?" the figure demanded, its voice a blend of sorrow and rage. "You seek to escape, but the forest demands its dues." I stepped forward, mustering every ounce of courage I had left. "We didn't mean to intrude. Please, let us go." The figure laughed, a sound that sent chills down my spine. "The forest does not forgive, and it does not forget. You are now part of the endless winter, your souls bound to this cursed land for eternity." As the figure raised its hands, the storm intensified, the snow swirling around us in a blinding frenzy. The whispers became a cacophony of tortured voices, each one begging for release. It was then that I realized the true nature of the curse. We were to become guardians of the forest, trapped in an eternal cycle of fear and suffering. But even in the face of such overwhelming darkness, hope remained. I remembered the stories we had heard about the mountain's history, tales of a witch who had been betrayed by the villagers centuries ago. Her spirit had been bound to the forest, her vengeance ensuring that no one would ever escape her domain. If there was a way to break the curse, it had to be connected to her story. "We have to find a way to appease her spirit," I whispered to Laura, determination stealing my voice. "We need to show her that we understand her pain and that we want to help." The figure paused, its form flickering as if contemplating my words. "You speak of understanding, but do you truly grasp the depth of my suffering?" I nodded, stepping closer despite the freezing cold. "We want to help." Please, let us find a way to lift this curse. The figure's eyes softened slightly, and the storm began to wane, the snowflakes slowing in their descent. Perhaps there is a way, it mused, the tension in its voice easing. But it will require great sacrifice and true remorse. Determined to save my family, we agreed to undertake whatever task was necessary to appease the witch's spirit. The figure pointed towards a trail leading deeper into the forest, the path illuminated by the fading storm. Follow this path to the heart of the forest. There, you will find what you seek. With heavy hearts and a renewed sense of purpose, we embarked on the final leg of our journey. The trail was treacherous, the snow thick and the air frigid, but we pressed on, driven by the desperate need to break free from the forest's curse. The whispers faded as we approached a secluded grove, where an ancient stone altar stood at the center, surrounded by towering pines and covered in a thick layer of ice. Here, Laura said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. This must be it. We approached the altar, each step filled with a mix of fear and hope. The air around us shimmered with dark energy, and the weight of the forest's curse pressed down on us. Following the instructions from the stories we had researched, we began the ritual, acknowledging the witch's suffering, offering a heartfelt apology, and placing symbols of peace around the altar. As we chanted the final words, the air grew warmer, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as the curse began to dissolve. The shadowy figure reappeared, its form now more defined and less menacing. You have done well, it intoned, its voice filled with a sense of closure. The curse is lifted, and the forest can finally find peace. With a final, grateful nod, the figure faded into the light, and the forest around us seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The storm had passed, leaving behind a serene stillness that felt almost sacred. Exhausted but victorious, we made our way back to our cabin, the memories of our ordeal etched into our hearts forever. As we drove home, the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, illuminating the snow-covered landscape in a warm, golden light. The nightmare was over, but the lessons we had learned remained with us. Respect for nature, the importance of heeding warnings, and the enduring strength of family bonds were now deeply ingrained in our souls. Back in the safety of our home, we shared our story with friends and family, who listened in disbelief, their skepticism slowly giving way to a newfound respect for the legends of Mount Rainier. The journal we had found in the forest became a cherished keepsake, a testament to our survival and the power of unity in the face of unimaginable fear. Years have passed since that harrowing Christmas, but the memories remain vivid. Each winter, as the snow begins to fall, I find myself reflecting on the night we faced the dark forces of Mount Rainier and emerged stronger for it. The unexpected snowstorm became more than just a weather event, it was a turning point that taught us the true meaning of courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds that hold us together. Sometimes, late at night, I catch a glimpse of the forest in the distance, the snow glistening under the moonlight, and I can't help but feel a connection to the spirits we encountered. They are a part of us now, their whispers a reminder of the thin line between peace and terror, and the eternal struggle against the darkness that lies hidden within the mountains. The unexpected snowstorm remains a cautionary tale, a story of survival against the odds, and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It serves as a reminder that some places hold secrets too dark to uncover, and that the forces of nature can be as unforgiving as they are beautiful. Our experience on Mount Rainier is etched into the annals of our lives, a haunting yet invaluable lesson in the power of respect, love, and the unyielding will to protect those we hold dear. And so, as the snow continues to fall each winter, covering the world in a pristine blanket of white, I am reminded of that night, a night when the unexpected became our reality, and the mountain's dark legacy became our own. The shadows of Mount Rainier linger in our minds, a silent sentinel watching over us, ensuring that we never forget the price of our curiosity and the strength of our bonds. Story number 3. Moonless Night. I still wake up in a cold sweat, the echoes of that night in Joshua Tree haunting my every restless slumber. My name is Alex Carter, and what was meant to be a rejuvenating winter getaway turned into a descent into a nightmare that none of us will ever forget. It was the end of December, and my friends, Jake, Emily, Sarah, and Marcus, and I decided to escape the chaos of our busy lives with a camping trip to Joshua Tree National Park. We were a tight-knit group, bonded by years of shared adventures and the unspoken understanding that we could rely on each other no matter what. The allure of the vast desert, the promise of clear starry skies, and the stories of mysterious UFO sightings had captivated our imaginations for months. We arrived at the park on a crisp Saturday afternoon, the sun beginning its slow descent behind the rugged peaks. The landscape was surreal, with the iconic Joshua trees silhouetted against the vibrant hues of the setting sun. Our campsite was nestled in a secluded area, surrounded by towering rock formations and vast expanses of untouched sand. We set up our tents with practiced ease, unpacked our gear, and prepared for a night under the stars. As night fell, the temperature dropped rapidly, and the desert transformed into a world of shadows and silvery moonlight. We gathered around a crackling fire, sharing stories and roasting marshmallows, the warmth of the flames a comforting barrier against the chill. The sky above was a tapestry of stars, each one twinkling with a brilliance that seemed almost otherworldly. It was the perfect setting for what was to be a memorable night. "Look at that," Jake exclaimed, pointing towards a cluster of stars. "I've never seen anything like it." We turned our attention to the heavens, marveling at the clarity of the night sky. But as we settled into the rhythm of the evening, a strange sense of unease began to creep over me. There was something off about the way the shadows danced around the rocks, something that made my skin crawl. I tried to shake it off, attributing it to the isolation and the anticipation of the night ahead. Around midnight, as we lay in our tents gazing up at the sky, we noticed a series of faint, pulsating lights moving erratically across the horizon. At first, we dismissed them as distant airplanes or perhaps drones, but their erratic movement and the way they seemed to avoid the natural patterns of flight raised our suspicions. "That's not a plane," Emily whispered, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Look how they're moving." We watched in awe as the lights darted and weaved, forming shapes that defied explanation. Some of us speculated about extraterrestrial visitors, while others thought it might be a natural phenomenon we were unfamiliar with. The beauty of the moment was overshadowed by a growing sense of dread, an unspoken fear that something was watching us from the darkness. The storm outside had been predicted, but we had underestimated its ferocity. Suddenly, the wind picked up, whipping the snow into fierce gusts that battered our campsite. The fire sputtered and dimmed, casting long, flickering shadows that danced menacingly around us. The whispers of the wind seemed to carry voices, faint and indistinct, as if the desert itself was trying to communicate something ominous. As the storm raged on, we decided to retreat into our tents, seeking refuge from the relentless blizzard. The wind howled like a living beast, the snow piling higher by the minute, obscuring our view of the world outside. We huddled together, trying to stay warm, the tension between us palpable as the storm continued to batter the desert. The next morning, the storm had subsided, leaving behind a pristine blanket of snow that transformed the desert into an ethereal winter wonderland. We emerged from our tents, grateful for the relative calm, and began assessing any damage. It was then that we noticed something strange. Our campsite had been disturbed overnight. Our gear was scattered, the snow around our tents unevenly piled, and most alarmingly, one of our tents was torn apart from the inside. "Jake, where were you last night?" I asked, noticing he was missing. "Last night?" "I was right here," Jake replied, confusion etched on his face. "I didn't leave my tent." We searched the area frantically, calling his name, but there was no sign of him. Panic set in as we realized he had vanished without a trace. The snowstorm had erased any footprints that might have led us to him, leaving us with more questions than answers. As we tried to piece together what had happened, we noticed perfect circles etched into the snow surrounding our campsite. They were intricate, almost ritualistic in their precision, and completely out of place in the natural chaos of the desert. The sight sent chills down my spine, the realization dawning on us that something unnatural had occurred. "Did you see these?" Sarah asked, pointing to the circles. "What are they?" "I don't know, but it can't be natural," Marcus responded, his voice shaking. "Something, or someone, did this." Determined to find Jake and uncover the mystery behind his disappearance, we decided to follow the patterns of the circles, hoping they might lead us to answers. The trail led us deeper into the wilderness, the snow crunching beneath our boots as we ventured further away from the safety of our campsite. The eerie stillness of the desert was oppressive, the silence broken only by the distant calls of nocturnal creatures and the occasional rustle of the wind through the Joshua trees. Hours passed with no sign of Jake, and the frustration and fear began to take their toll. The perfect circles became more frequent, forming a labyrinthine path that seemed to lead us in circles, much like the storm had led us to our current predicament. The feeling of being watched intensified, the sense that unseen eyes were tracking our every move, waiting for the right moment to strike. As dusk approached, we found ourselves at the edge of a dense thicket, the trees forming a natural barrier that blocked our path. Exhausted and desperate, we decided to set up a temporary camp, hoping to rest and regroup before continuing our search. But as night fell, the true horror of our situation became apparent. The whispers returned, louder and more distinct, echoing through the trees like the lamentations of lost souls. The shadows between the trees seemed to move with a life of their own, elongating and twisting into grotesque shapes that lurked just beyond our vision. The air grew thick with an unnatural chill, our breaths visible in the frigid night air. "We need to stay together," I urged, clutching my jacket tighter around me. "We can't let whatever is out here tear us apart." But the forest had other plans. As we huddled together, the shadows began to converge, forming dark, amorphous shapes that pressed against the edges of our camp. The whispers turned into anguished cries, the sound of tortured souls reaching out for salvation. The perfect circles in the snow around us glowed faintly, pulsating with an otherworldly energy that made the ground beneath us tremble. Suddenly, Emily screamed as a shadowy figure lunged towards her, its form shifting and distorting in a nightmarish display. We tried to fend it off, but the entity was relentless, its cold fingers reaching out to claim another soul. In the chaos, Sarah and Marcus were pulled into the darkness, their screams echoing through the night as they vanished into the shadows. "Laura, don't move!" I shouted, grabbing her arm tightly as we tried to shield ourselves from the relentless onslaught. But it was no use. The entities swarmed us, their presence overwhelming, pushing us to the brink of madness. The circle around us tightened, the snow swirling into a vortex of fear and despair. Just when all hope seemed lost, the whispers changed. The anguished cries gave way to a faint, melodic hum, a song of sorrow and longing that resonated deep within our souls. The entities hesitated, their forms flickering as if battling an internal conflict. The perfect circles in the snow began to glow brighter, their pulsating energy growing stronger. "There's something in the circles," I realized, my voice barely audible over the cacophony. "Maybe it's the key to stopping them." With every ounce of strength left, I reached out and touched one of the glowing circles, feeling a surge of energy course through me. The hum intensified, blending with the whispers into a harmonious chant that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the desert. The entities recoiled, their forms dissolving into the night as the energy from the circles enveloped them. "Keep going," I urged Laura, feeling the power of the circles fighting back against the darkness. "We can do this." We moved from circle to circle, each one acting as a beacon of light and hope in the oppressive darkness. The entities struggled to maintain their forms, their presence weakening as the ritual continued. The whispers turned into soothing melodies, guiding us through the labyrinth of circles and leading us towards the heart of the curse that had ensnared us. As dawn broke, the storm finally began to dissipate, the first rays of sunlight piercing through the darkness and illuminating the snow-covered landscape. The perfect circles faded, their purpose fulfilled as the entities were banished back to the depths from which they had emerged. Exhausted but victorious, we made our way back to our original campsite, the horrors of the night behind us but the memories forever etched into our minds. But the nightmare was not entirely over. As we packed up our gear, preparing to leave the cursed forest, we noticed something unsettling. Jake was still missing. The realization that he was still out there, trapped by the same forces that had taken the rest of us, sent a chill down my spine. The perfect circles had led us to escape, but Jake's disappearance remained a haunting mystery, a reminder that some curses are too powerful to be fully broken. We left Joshua Tree with heavy hearts, the beauty of the desert now tainted by the horrors we had endured. The memories of that night lingered, a constant reminder of the thin line between reality and the supernatural, and the dangers that lie hidden within the seemingly peaceful wilderness. Years have passed since that fateful Christmas, but the story remains vivid in my mind. Occasionally, I hear whispers carried by the wind, faint echoes of the lost souls that still wander the desert. Sometimes, late at night, I catch a glimpse of shadowy figures standing at the edge of my vision, watching and waiting for the next unsuspecting traveler to fall into their trap. The unexpected snowstorm became a cautionary tale among our friends and family, a story told in hushed tones around campfires and holiday gatherings. It serves as a reminder that some places are better left unexplored and that the forces of darkness can lurk in the most beautiful and serene landscapes. Laura and I have tried to move on, but the experience has left an indelible mark on our lives. We continue to search for Jake, hoping to find him and bring him home, but the vastness of the desert and the malevolent forces that guard it make our quest seem almost impossible. The whispers of Joshua Tree continue to haunt us, a constant reminder of the night when our curiosity led us into a battle for our very souls. As I sit by the fireplace on cold winter nights, the memories of that night flood my mind, a blend of fear, gratitude, and an unshakable resolve to never forget the lessons learned in the heart of the cursed desert. The great snowstorm remains a dark chapter in our lives, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the lengths we will go to protect those we love. And so, the legend of the moonless night in Joshua Tree continues to grow, a story of survival against the odds, and a chilling reminder that some curses never truly end. The shadows of that night linger in our hearts, ensuring that we never forget the price of our curiosity and the strength of our bonds in the face of unimaginable fear. Story number 4. Whispers on the Frozen Shore. I still remember the first winter we decided to camp at Crater Lake like it was yesterday. My name is Michael Thompson, and that decision nearly cost us everything. It was supposed to be a family bonding trip, a chance to escape the hustle and bustle of our everyday lives and immerse ourselves in the serene beauty of nature. My wife, Laura, our teenage daughter, Emily, and our young son, Jake, were all excited about the adventure. Little did we know, the frozen expanse of Crater Lake held secrets that would haunt us forever. The drive to Oregon was long, but the sight of the majestic lake, encased in a thick blanket of snow, made every mile worth it. Crater Lake National Park is renowned for its stunning vistas and the mysterious legends that surround it. As we approached the park, the sun began to set, casting an ethereal glow over the icy waters. The sky was a deep indigo, dotted with countless stars that shimmered against the darkness. The air was crisp and biting, a stark contrast to the warm embrace of our home. We arrived at the campsite just as twilight was settling in. The area was secluded, surrounded by towering pines and rocky outcrops that loomed like silent guardians. Setting up our tents in the soft, powdery snow was a challenge, but we managed to get everything in place before nightfall. Laura lit a fire in the stone hearth, the flames providing much-needed warmth against the winter chill. We sat around the fire, sharing stories and roasting marshmallows, the flickering light casting dancing shadows on our faces. As night deepened, the temperature dropped even further, and the wind began to howl through the trees, creating an eerie symphony that echoed across the frozen lake. Emily and Jake were restless, eager to explore the area, but Laura and I encouraged them to stay close to the fire. We reassured them that Crater Lake was safe, that we had all the necessary precautions in place. Yet, an unsettling feeling gnawed at the back of my mind, a sense that we were being watched by unseen eyes. Around midnight, as we were drifting off to sleep, a faint sound pierced the silence, a soft, rhythmic lapping of water against ice. At first, we thought it was the natural movement of the frozen lake, the subtle shifts and cracks that come with extreme cold. But the sound was too deliberate, too consistent, to be mere nature. Laura stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice tinged with worry. I sat up, listening intently. The sound persisted, growing slightly louder, more pronounced. It was as if someone was trying to communicate, calling out from the depths of the frozen lake. Emily and Jake sat up beside us, their expressions mirroring our concern. "Maybe someone fell through the ice," Emily suggested, her voice shaky. "Or maybe it's just the wind," I replied, though my instincts told me otherwise. The lake should be completely solid by this time of year, the harsh winter temperatures ensuring no movement beneath the surface. Yet, the sound continued, its origin seemingly just beyond our immediate reach. The next morning, the storm had abated, leaving behind a pristine blanket of snow that transformed the landscape into a winter wonderland. We woke to the sun filtering through the trees, casting a pale light over the frozen lake. As we unpacked our gear, we noticed something strange, footprints etched into the snow, leading from the center of the lake directly to our campsite. The prints were large, human-like, with deep impressions that suggested a heavy weight. But how was that possible? The lake had been frozen solid, and yet here were these footprints, leading us towards an unimaginable horror. "Look at these," I said, pointing to the tracks that spiraled outward from the center of the lake. "This doesn't make any sense." Laura joined me, her brow furrowed in confusion. "The lake should be completely frozen. There's no way someone could walk on it." Emily and Jake followed our gaze, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Maybe someone fell through the ice and tried to get back," Emily suggested, though her voice lacked conviction. "Or maybe it's something else," I replied, a chill running down my spine. The footprints led directly to our tent, ending abruptly just before they reached it, as if something had stopped them in their tracks. It was a message, a warning that we couldn't decipher. That afternoon, we decided to investigate further. Equipped with flashlights and bundled up against the lingering cold, we trudged through the snow towards the center of the lake. The footprints were fresh, their leading edges still visible in the soft snow. As we approached, the air grew colder, the wind picking up once more, as if the lake itself was trying to repel us. "There's nothing here," Laura said, her voice echoing across the frozen expanse. "The lake is solid." But as we reached the center, the ground beneath us gave way slightly, a faint crackling sound emanating from below. My heart raced as I peered into the darkness beneath the ice, but it was impossible to see anything in the opaque surface. Suddenly, the ice groaned, a low, ominous sound that sent shivers through my body. We backed away quickly, our breath visible in the frigid air, our minds racing to make sense of what we had just experienced. That night, as we sat around the fire, the eerie feeling from the previous evening returned, stronger than ever. The sound of water lapping against ice echoed through the night, closer and more insistent. Shadows seemed to move at the edges of our vision, and the sense of being watched was overwhelming. Jake clutched my hand, his face pale with fear. "Dad, I'm scared," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I held him tighter, trying to offer reassurance. "It's okay, Jake. We're safe here. Nothing's going to get us." But even as I spoke the words, doubt gnawed at me. The footprints, the sounds, the inexplicable presence, we were dealing with something beyond our understanding, something that defied logic and reason. Around midnight, the sounds intensified. The rhythmic lapping of water became a desperate plea, a haunting call that reverberated through the frozen landscape. Laura and I exchanged worried glances, knowing that whatever was out there was becoming more aggressive in its attempts to communicate, or perhaps to claim us. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared at the edge of our campsite, its form barely visible through the swirling snow. It stood motionless, staring at us with hollow, empty eyes that seemed to pierce through our very souls. The temperature dropped further, our breaths visible in the frigid air as the figure began to move towards us with unnatural grace. "Who are you?" Laura demanded, her voice trembling with fear. The figure remained silent, its presence exuding a malevolent energy that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. As it drew closer, the whispers turned into anguished cries, the voices of those who had been lost to the lake's icy grip. The figure extended a hand, its fingers elongated and distorted, reaching out to us as if to pull us into the frozen abyss. "Run!" I shouted, grabbing Laura and pulling her away from the figure. But as we tried to flee, the snow around us seemed to come alive, the ground shifting and transforming into a maze of frozen pathways that led us in endless circles. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, their voices blending into a cacophony of pain and desperation that echoed through the night. Desperation fueled our actions as we struggled to find a way out of the endless maze. The figure pursued us relentlessly, its presence a constant reminder of the curse that had befallen the lake. Each step we took only led us deeper into the heart of the nightmare, the frozen landscape becoming a twisted reflection of our own fears and doubts. Hours passed with no end in sight, the storm outside mirroring the turmoil within. The sense of hopelessness was overwhelming, the whispers now a relentless barrage of voices that threatened to break our sanity. But amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope remained. I remembered the stories of the lake's history, tales of tragic drownings and the restless spirits that haunted its icy depths. Determined to save my family, I called out to Laura, trying to steady my voice despite the fears that gripped me. "We have to confront it. We have to find a way to lift the curse." Laura nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I'm with you, Michael. We'll find a way." With renewed resolve, we pressed forward, navigating the labyrinth of frozen paths with a sense of purpose. The whispers began to fade, replaced by a deep, resonant silence that filled the air. As we reached the center of the maze, the figure stood before us once more, its form now less menacing but no less powerful. "Why do you haunt this place?" I demanded, my voice echoing across the frozen expanse. "What do you want from us?" The figure's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and for a moment, the air seemed to crackle with energy. The whispers returned, softer now, filled with sorrow and longing rather than anger and desperation. It was a plea, a cry for release from the eternal torment that bound it to the lake. "We seek peace," I continued, stepping forward. "Let us help you find it." The figure hesitated, its form flickering as if torn between two worlds. Slowly, it extended its hand once more, not in a gesture of menace, but in one of understanding and sorrow. The whispers transformed into a harmonious melody, a song of healing and redemption that filled the air with a sense of calm. As I reached out to touch the figure's hand, a surge of warmth enveloped us, the icy grip of the curse beginning to loosen. The footprints around us faded, the shadows dissipating into the night as the spirits found the peace they had long been denied. The figure's form began to dissolve, its essence merging with the snowflakes that gently fell from the sky. With a final, fading whisper, the curse was lifted, and the lake returned to its serene stillness. The snowstorm ceased, leaving behind a tranquil silence that was almost sacred. Exhausted but relieved, we made our way back to our campsite, the horrors of the night fading into the dawn's gentle light. As we packed up our gear and prepared to leave, the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the pristine beauty of Crater Lake in a way that felt almost magical. The footprints were gone, the shadows no longer lurking in the corners of our vision. It was as if the lake had healed itself, the curse broken and the spirits finally at rest. We left Crater Lake with a profound sense of gratitude and a deeper understanding of the mysteries that lie hidden in nature's embrace. The experience bonded us in ways we couldn't have imagined, our love and resilience tested by forces beyond our comprehension. The memory of that winter night remains vivid, a haunting reminder of the thin line between reality and the supernatural, and the lengths we will go to protect those we hold dear. Years have passed since that harrowing Christmas, but the lessons we learned endure. Each winter, as the snow begins to fall, I find myself reflecting on that night, grateful for the strength that carried us through the darkness and the love that kept us united. Crater Lake stands as a beacon of beauty and mystery, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who brave its icy shores. Sometimes, when the wind howls just right, I swear I can hear the faint echoes of the whispers that once filled the air, a subtle reminder that some places hold onto their secrets too tightly, and that the spirits of the past continue to watch over the frozen landscape. The haunted camp by Crater Lake became more than just a story of survival. It was a testament to the power of family, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring mysteries that lie beneath the surface of even the most serene places. As I sit by the fireplace on cold winter nights, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the walls, I can't help but feel a connection to the spirits we encountered, their whispers now a part of our story, a reminder that some curses can be broken, but the memories remain forever etched in our hearts. Story number 5. The Stranger in the Woods. I never considered myself superstitious. Growing up in Albany, New York, I always approached legends and local folklore with a healthy dose of skepticism. But that belief was shattered one cold December night in the heart of the Adirondack Mountains, a place where the beauty of nature masks a haunting history of unexplained disappearances and eerie tales. My name is David Harris, and I was part of a group of friends who decided to spend a winter weekend camping deep within the Adirondacks. The allure of untouched wilderness, the promise of clear starry skies, and the thrill of escaping our hectic lives were irresistible. My wife, Laura, our friends Jake and Emily, and I had meticulously planned the trip, ensuring we were well equipped for the harsh winter conditions. Little did we know, the forest had other plans for us. We arrived at our chosen campsite just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the snow-covered ground. The air was crisp, each breath visible in the fading light. The forest around us was silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant call of a winter bird. We set up our tents, gathered firewood, and built a sturdy campfire that would serve as our sanctuary against the biting cold. As night fell, we huddled around the fire, sharing stories and laughing, trying to shake off the chill that seemed to seep into our bones. The sky above was a tapestry of stars, their brilliance undimmed by the light pollution of the city. We marveled at the constellations, the Milky Way stretching across the heavens in a breathtaking display of cosmic beauty. Around midnight, as we were drifting into a comfortable silence, a sudden sound pierced the tranquility, a faint, rhythmic rustling coming from the dense forest surrounding our campsite. At first, we dismissed it as the wind playing tricks on our ears, but the sound grew louder, more deliberate, as if someone, or something, was moving closer. "Did you guys hear that?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with unease. "Probably just a deer or something," Jake replied, though his eyes betrayed his uncertainty. But the rustling persisted, transforming into a series of soft, deliberate footsteps approaching our fire. The flames flickered ominously, casting dancing shadows that seemed to reach out towards us. We exchanged uneasy glances, the warmth of the fire doing little to alleviate the growing sense of dread. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, stepping into the light of the campfire. It was an old man, his face withered and lined with age, his eyes hollow and filled with an inexplicable sadness. He wore a tattered coat that had clearly seen better days, and his presence exuded a chilling aura that made our skin crawl. "Leave this place," he warned, his voice raspy and strained. "Leave now, before it's too late." We stared at him, our initial shock giving way to confusion and fear. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady despite the fear gnawing at me. The old man took a step closer, his eyes never leaving mine. "This forest holds secrets that should never be disturbed. Many have come before you, seeking solace or adventure, but few have ever left." Before we could respond, the man vanished as suddenly as he had appeared, swallowed by the darkness of the forest. We sat in stunned silence, the fire flickering between us, the night growing colder and more oppressive with each passing moment. "What was that?" Laura whispered, her hand gripping mine tightly. "I don't know," I replied, my mind racing. "But we need to leave. Now." We attempted to pack up our gear, but the storm outside had grown fiercer, the wind howling through the trees with a ferocity that made it impossible to hear anything else. The snow piled up rapidly, reducing visibility to mere feet and trapping us in a blizzard of relentless white. As we struggled to secure our tents and gather our belongings, we noticed something even more disturbing: the footprints. Large, human-like footprints appeared in the freshly fallen snow, leading away from our campsite and disappearing into the dense forest. The prints were deep, their patterns almost ritualistic, and unlike anything we had seen before. What was more unsettling was that the footprints seemed to follow us, appearing and disappearing as if an unseen presence was watching our every move. "Look at these," Jake said, pointing to the footprints that circled our campsite before vanishing into the darkness. "They're not normal. They're almost deliberate. Do you think someone else is out there?" Emily asked, her voice quivering with fear. Before we could answer, the whispers returned, louder this time, echoing through the trees like the voices of the lost. "Leave now," they seemed to chant, "leave before it's too late." Determined to protect our family, we decided to abandon the campsite and make our way back to civilization. But every path we took led us deeper into the forest, the snowstorm intensifying with each step. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, filling our minds with a paralyzing fear that made it nearly impossible to think clearly. Hours turned into what felt like an eternity as we wandered through the seemingly endless expanse of the Adirondacks. The footprints continued to appear and disappear, guiding us deeper into the heart of the forest. The shadows around us seemed to move with a life of their own, their forms shifting and contorting in the dim light of our flashlights. As dawn approached, the storm began to abate, the relentless snow finally slowing to a gentle fall. Exhausted and disoriented, we found ourselves at the edge of a clearing, the sun breaking through the clouds and casting a warm, golden light over the landscape. In the center of the clearing stood an old, dilapidated cabin, its windows dark and foreboding, the door hanging ajar as if inviting us in. "Do we go in?" Laura asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's no other option," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest. "We have to find shelter before nightfall." We approached the cabin cautiously, the remnants of the old man's warning echoing in our minds. The door creaked ominously as we pushed it open, revealing a cold, damp interior that smelled of mold and decay. The cabin was sparsely furnished, with a broken table, scattered remnants of old clothing, and faded photographs hanging crookedly on the walls. The air was thick with an oppressive presence, making it hard to breathe. As we stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind us, trapping us in the cabin. The temperature plummeted, our breaths visible in the frigid air as the whispers returned, louder and more desperate than ever. Shadows danced on the walls, their forms shifting and twisting into grotesque shapes that filled us with a deep sense of dread. "Something's wrong," Jake muttered, his eyes darting around the room. "We need to get out of here." But every attempt to open the door was futile. The windows were sealed tight, and the door refused to budge, as if an invisible force was holding us captive. The whispers turned into anguished cries, the voices of those who had been lost to the forest, their pain and sorrow filling the room with an unbearable weight. "We have to confront whatever is here," I said, trying to muster the courage to face the unknown horror that surrounded us. "We can't let it control us." As if on cue, the air grew thick with dark energy, the shadows forming into tangible entities that loomed over us with malevolent intent. The figures moved with an unnatural grace, their eyes burning with an otherworldly light as they closed in around us, their whispers now a cacophony of pain and desperation. Desperate to break free, I grabbed Laura's hand, pulling her towards the broken window. "We need to use the fireplace," I urged, pointing to the stone hearth that sat cold and unused. "Maybe we can find something to defend ourselves." We rushed to the fireplace, searching for any signs of life within the lifeless room. Among the ashes and debris, we found an old, dusty book, its cover worn and pages yellowed with age. Flipping through the pages, I discovered that it was a journal belonging to a man named Elias, who had lived in the cabin decades ago. Elias's entries detailed his descent into madness, driven by the loss of his family to the forest's dark forces. He spoke of a malevolent entity that haunted the woods, a spirit of vengeance and sorrow that sought to trap unsuspecting souls within its icy grip. The final entry was a frantic plea for help, a desperate attempt to summon a ritual that could banish the entity and free himself from the curse that had consumed him. As I read Elias's words, a plan began to form in my mind. If the ritual could banish the entity, it might be our only chance to escape the forest's deadly embrace. "We have to perform this ritual," I told Laura, my voice steady despite the fears that gnawed at me. "It's our only hope." Following the instructions in the journal, we gathered the necessary items, candles, salt, and a circle of stones arranged in a specific pattern around the fireplace. As we lit the candles and began the chant, the oppressive presence in the cabin grew stronger, the shadows pushing against the barriers we had created. The whispers turned into wails of fury, the entity's anger manifesting in a violent storm of dark energy that threatened to consume us. "Stay strong," I urged, my voice rising above the chaos. "We can do this." The ritual required unwavering focus and unity, our voices blending in a desperate plea for peace and release. The air crackled with energy as the candles flickered and the shadows writhed in response to our incantations. The entity's presence fought back, its form contorting and shifting as it attempted to break free from the ritual's hold. But we pressed on, our determination fueled by the fear of losing ourselves to the forest's darkness. The whispers faded into a harmonious chant, our voices now in perfect harmony with the ancient words that sought to banish the entity once and for all. A blinding light erupted from the fireplace, engulfing the room in a brilliant radiance that pushed back the shadows and silenced the whispers. With a final, anguished scream, the entity was banished, its presence dissipating into the ether as the cabin returned to a state of eerie calm. The temperature began to rise, the oppressive weight lifting as we realized the ritual had worked. Exhausted but victorious, we made our way back to the door, which now opened easily, allowing us to step out into the calm aftermath of the storm. As we trudged through the snow, the footprints that had led us into the forest were gone, erased by the forces that had once sought to trap us. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm, golden light over the snow-covered landscape and illuminating the path back to civilization. The forest, once a place of fear and uncertainty, now seemed almost peaceful, the curse lifted and the spirits at rest. But the experience had left an indelible mark on us all. The memory of that night, the whispers, the shadows, the desperate struggle to survive, remained vivid in our minds, a haunting reminder of the thin line between reality and the supernatural. We shared our story with friends and family, who listened in disbelief, their skepticism giving way to a newfound respect for the legends of the Adirondacks. Years have passed since that harrowing Christmas, but the lessons we learned endure. The importance of respecting nature, the strength of family bonds, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable fear are now deeply ingrained in our lives. Laura and I have since moved back to Albany, our children growing up with tales of their survival in the cursed forest, a legacy that binds us together in ways we couldn't have imagined. Sometimes, during the quiet moments of winter, I find myself staring out the window, the snow falling gently outside, and I can't help but feel a connection to the spirits we encountered. They are a part of us now, their whispers a reminder of the night we faced our fears and emerged stronger for it. The stranger in the woods became more than just a story, it was a testament to our resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and courage can guide us back to the light. As I sit by the fireplace on cold winter nights, the flames casting dancing shadows on the walls, I am reminded of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, and the unbreakable bonds that hold us together in the face of unspeakable horror. The Adirondack Mountains, with their serene beauty and hidden dangers, remain a place of mystery and fear, their dark secrets forever etched into the snow-covered landscape and our hearts.